Just a quick disclaimer. Every now and then I interject humor into my videos. I'm not trying to make you laugh or be a comedian. It's my way of lightening the load for myself. So I wanted you to know that because I know some of you may be going through some similar circumstances. I certainly respect that. And I appreciate the fact that you're investing this bit of time with me today. So I hope you find this video helpful. Keep lifting as you climb. All right, community. Well, how's everybody doing? Listen, for the last several weeks, I've been sharing with you my experience in the family caregiving space, and also, where there have been opportunities for some self discovery. So I've been learning about healthcare, and I've been learning about some self development, making some self improvements, and I think it's all coming full circle, and I'll get to that later on. But with today's topic, because as the man said, the hits they just keep on coming. Dementia is now the next new challenge that's in our path. And, I think it's important for you to know that I have a great support system beginning with my wife. So while you see my face, hear my voice, she has been beside me every step of the way. And I know there's a saying out there that says behind every great man is a woman. And I'm not saying that I'm a great man. What I am saying is that my wife has been beside me, supporting me. And without her, man, I tell you, this would be very tough. If she's behind me, it's only because she needs every bit of that 5'3" to keep this guy on his feet. And it has been so meaningful. My daughter, as supportive as any 19-year-old would be, who's out there experiencing life, going to school, doing her thing. I've got friends who reach out to me on a regular basis, checking on me, checking on my mom. All of that means something. And I know a lot of you can't say the same. You're probably navigating this without any support at all. So for you, you have my empathy. And I also put in the chat, in the comments, several resources that I think may be of help to you. So I'm going to keep this share simple. I hope you find it helpful and it encourages you. Let's dive in. So I started noticing some subtle changes, or at least they began subtle, in my mom's behavior. And I told her at one point, I said, hey, I'm really having a hard time now distinguishing the manipulation from the memory loss. So I need you to help me out. Is anything going on? And she was reluctant at first, as any person would be. It's a very serious matter and one that can increase your anxiety and make you feel very insecure. And so I got her to talk about some of the things that I was seeing and some of the issues that I had to address with the rehab center. She was abusive to the staff, she was abusive to her roommate. And compounding the matter, though, at the time was that she had had the fall. And if you remember from one of my previous videos, I talked about the fact that she called me like 3 days in a row at the same time. And I told my wife, hey, you know what? Something's going on. I'm supposed to go see her on this day. I'm going tomorrow and get my eyes on her. And come to find out, she did have a brain bleed. She had a small stroke. Now, we were fortunate because it was treatable. But, fast forward, I start seeing some of those similar behaviors surface again. And this time you compound that with, not taking medications on time, refusing medications, repeating, other issues with the staff. All of it just became the perfect storm to put her back in the hospital, which is where she is right now, and go through another series of surgeries. And this time she had two brain bleeds. So, you do the math on that. That's actually three strokes, five in her lifetime that we know about. So, again, we've been very fortunate because these situations were treatable, but at the same time, you know, it's very difficult when you have a situation that's already in the background, that's growing, i.e., dementia, and then you put all of these other events, you bring all those other events into play, they just make it worse. And if you have someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, or you're in close proximity to someone who's suffering from these diseases, then what I'm going to say is probably not going to be a big surprise to you. Listen, I find that I have to go through a mental checklist before I see my mom because, I'm used to her sundowning. I'm used to her, during the late afternoons, just kind of getting a little bit agitated, a little bit tired. And that's when we know, hey, it's time to back off all the activities and let's get you some rest. But at the same time, you know, anything can trigger it. And so I live by like three things. One, I don't argue with her or try to correct her when she misstates something. Now, what I will do is I will try to redirect that behavior. And I know this kind of sounds like, hey, I'm raising a child. Well, I've had friends tell me it's like childcare. Guess what? They're not exaggerating. So this is the way that I have to talk to her. If she says, hey, somebody took such and such, I'm just like, wait a minute, let me just take a moment, work with you, let's talk through it. I will never say, though, well, don't you remember X, Y, or Z? Because that's the whole root of the problem in the first place. You don't remember. And with these mood changes, with the effects that dementia can have on the mind, all it does is just create agitation. The other thing that I don't do is I don't allow her to put me in a position where I like affirm something negative about someone else, right? So if she says, hey, that person's always rude to me, or that caregiver, always talks to me in a stern voice, and sometimes she'll use other words, but I'm just paraphrasing. I'll say, hey, hold on a second. Why don't we all talk together? I'll go talk to them. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. They were rushed. Anything to try to keep her emotions down, to keep her blood pressure down, right? And then, the last thing that I will make sure of, and this is, I spoke of the manipulation earlier, I don't let these situations twist my emotions into guilt. And men, your wife has your heart, but your mom, your daughter, they can take you and twist you around your little finger so fast, your head will spin. So I, uh, I have to be very careful when I interact with her. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for me because I feel like I'm on my guard. And it took me a while to make my behaviors with her more natural. In fact, in the course of working on this video, I got two phone calls from the hospital because they were saying, hey, your mom's refusing to take your medication, blah, 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 blah. And just to show you how the mind works. So they get me on the phone. I talk to her and she's like, okay, I'm fine. I just got out of rehab, or just got out of therapy. So I'm just really tired. Want to take it later. And I'm just like, Mom, you got to do this. She doesn't know I'm on the phone when she hands the person back the phone. And she's like, I'm sick of you. You called my son. I'm not a child. And I'm just like, oh my God. you know, but it's what they do, So I tell you, when you are trying to help someone or support someone who has dementia, it can be frustrating, it can be depressing, and those feelings constantly consume you. I posted a video a couple of weeks ago where I was playing my drums and this was about the time that she had the second surgery because I was not necessarily in a dark place, but I was really down. And I came back here. It was one of those 24, 25-hour days. And I came back here and everybody was up, so I got on my drum kit and I played a little bit of R&B because you have to have a release. You have to have something to give you space as an outlet. Is what I'm trying to say. Dementia consumes two things for you and the patient. It consumes memories for them, and for both of you, it takes up your time. You can't get that back. You can't pause it, and you sit there and you think about all those times where you were too busy or you didn't take time to show appreciation. It all surfaces. And so those emotions can put you in a position where you are just kind of treading them. And just like treading water, if you do it long enough and you don't give yourself or get a life raft, you're eventually going to be in over your head and drown. And so that's what I am taking, to heart all the time. I think about this and I remember, hey, even though I'm working with her and supporting her, I have a family, and that balance is not easy. Looking back, however, over the last 3 or 4 months, I think, beginning of the summer, um, I started thinking about how important it was that I had an opportunity to recognize and see some of the areas where I need to change my behavior. If you've seen some of my videos, go to them and you'll see, I talk about the need to be more attentive, the need to think before I speak, work on my temperament, etc. The point being, had I been in this situation last year, this would be a much more difficult road to navigate. So, in that context, I'm extremely thankful and grateful because change, it all comes about in different ways for different reasons. And you can't discount it. When you have an opportunity to improve yourself, get feedback from someone, man, take it to heart because, I put that slide at the beginning of this video. Life is full of swift transition. My mom used to tell me that. Used to tell me that all the time, especially when I got to be a teenager, and running around doing things that teenagers do. She's like, hey, I just want to let you know, right? So be prepared because you never know. Um, I think early on, um, my biggest fear was losing her, having her die. But that's been replaced by her possibly not knowing that I love her. You know, think about that. It's very sobering day after day. Hey, some common symptoms, red flags to look out for: mood swings, insomnia, no appetite, confusion, inability to track time, and agitation, constant agitation. One thing that I found early on is that when these things happen, you have to let them play out. And so the only thing you can really do is control how you respond. And for me, that means operating in the space of two guardrails. The first one is to just use it as an opportunity to build trust. I don't challenge, I try to console when possible and redirect the behavior because, as someone told me, it is sometimes like childcare. The other thing is just to practice patience. And what I mean by that is this: sometimes you got to go the extra mile. You don't want things to linger, and you don't want to enable bad behavior. But what you don't want to do is put the person in a position where they are feeling defensive. That usually, causes a much more negative reaction. If more than likely they are dealing with blood pressure issues, you don't want to raise that pressure any higher. Just be aware. It's going to take you going the extra mile. And, with that in mind, when you go and visit someone who is suffering from this, make sure you give yourself plenty of time. You don't want them to feel like you just checking them off the list. Because believe me, while their reasoning may be impacted, their intellect is not. And I hope that makes sense, but it is a truth. If you haven't experienced that yet, you will. So, hey, I'm going to put, as I said, some support resources in the comments. I hope you found it helpful. And just keep going. It is a tough road, and it is a labor of love. But you only get one set of parents. The person, or maybe it's not your parents, maybe it's sibling. But just bear in mind that we only pass this way one time. So just do the best you can. And as I always tell you, keep lifting as you climb. Thanks for your time.